channel. I'm going to be waiting for you guys to pop in. We are live. Hopefully you guys can see me live on YouTube. You can see me live on X. So we'll just wait for the room to fill up. I haven't been live with you guys for some time, so I hope you guys are, you know the routine. You gotta bring your notepad, bring a pen, make sure that you're taking notes because we're going to be covering a good amount of value today because we're going to be discussing impulse loops and how to break these patterns of impulsive behavior. So I've got a really interesting presentation for you guys. So we'll just wait for you guys to come in and we can begin. All right. I'll start setting up my screen on this end. Okay. Excellent. Uh, Here we go. All right. All right. So I can see the chat here on YouTube. Hey Nelson. Hey D. Hey Spax. Kiklo. Nice to see you guys. Tanjil. Welcome, welcome everyone. All right. Let's begin then. Okay. Just making sure. All right. Okay. Just setting up the screens for you guys. All right. Everyone can see me, hear me. Just type a one in the chat. There's a bit of noise in the background, so I do apologize. I'll close my window. Just excuse me. Okay. All right. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you all. Okay. Hopefully you guys can see my screen now. Just let me know. All right, let's go. Fantastic. Well, welcome everybody. Today I want to talk to you guys about breaking the impulse loop, okay? And why traders self-sabotage their profits and how to actually stop it. So as we dive deep into this topic, what we really want to what I really want to get through to you guys is having real control. Okay, so it's really important to recognize not just that that you have to be able to find and develop good strategies, but you also have to be able to identify the strategy when it presents itself and remain calm at the same time, remain composed. You need to be able to control your impulsive behavior. And the focus should be about creating frameworks that really empower the capability and adaptability to when you're faced with impulsive behavior. and you feel that pressure to want to make money in trading. So today we're going to be talking about what causes impulsive trades, the neuroscience of emotional decisions, and how to use NLP to rewire your habits and your behaviors, and some practical strategies to stop sabotaging your trades. Okay. So, and then at the end, hopefully we got time for some Q&A. And my experience in the markets has taught me many different frameworks and systems to use, especially when it comes to controlling impulsive behavior. So I've been in the markets for 11 years now, and uh, I've been able to become a successful trader myself. And then I started coaching. And from the coaching, I then noticed that my clients started trading better than me. So now I'm a performance coach. I run an academy where we've worked with over 100 traders, and we've been able to withdraw close to we've reached $3 million now, alhamdulillah, in payouts, actual payouts. So we've been able to do this through these type of systems and frameworks, through teaching and learning how to actually control impulsive behavior. So hopefully you guys learn a thing or two. And like I said, make sure you're taking notes, all right? Because there's lots of value here today. Now, emotional discipline is critical, okay, in achieving success, because when we're trading, it's a very high pressurized environment. So this quote here, it encapsulates the idea that we don't rise to the level of our strategies, we fall to the level of our emotional discipline. So this highlights the importance of maintaining control over our emotions, because this these emotions, they have a significant impact on our decision making. So it's crucial, absolutely crucial, that we when we think about strategy, it's crucial to know that it's not just about technical analysis. It's not just about the charts. Okay, it's not just about risk management. You also have to be able to um, have emotional discipline. Okay, because no matter how good you are as a technician, as a technical trader, if you allow your fear, your greed to dictate your actions, then this is going to lead to impulsive behaviors. And this is why I want to present to you, I want you guys to learn from today, so that you can learn more about how emotional discipline works. Um, and emotional discipline, it basically means just being able to stick to your plan. You know your strategy works. What As long as you've got a back tested strategy, you've forward tested it, and if you follow the rules, you'll be consistently profitable. Then all you need to now, the next phase is to master emotional discipline, even when the market is volatile. That's when your emotions are running high. Yeah. So what happens to your emotions? What kind of emotions do you guys experience when volatility is very high? Let me know in the chat. When one moment price is moving up, next moment it just changes direction. What kind of emotions do you feel when you see that? fear, FOMO. Yeah, it's true. So when volatility is high, we tend to feel, some people tend to feel negative emotions. Others, they feel very positive emotions. They tend to get very excited, very motivated, and overconfident. So there's these feelings of wanting to trade. And so research shows that traders who practice emotional discipline are more likely to achieve long-term success, especially during these high volatility periods. Now, as traders, we thrive on volatility. We need the price to move aggressively so that we can identify a good trade, and we don't need to hold it for that long, and we can then profit from those moves. Okay. So to achieve long-term success, we can't allow our feelings and emotions to dictate our actions, because that doesn't apply to trading. In trading, you need to allow your edge, your rules, your process. That's what dictates. All right. Now, as we move forward, let's explore some of the common and impulsive mistakes that you guys are making. Yeah, I know you mentioned one already. There's FOMO, um, and then we can talk about, let's dive in a little bit deeper into these. All right. So the most common mistakes are, of course, revenge trading, closing your trades early, jumping in before confirmation, and over leveraging. So let's talk about these. So when we think about trading, it's important to recognize these, especially the most common pitfalls that could lead to impulsive mistakes, because usually one of these leads to the other, and it becomes this domino effect of impulsive behavior. So the first mistake we often see is revenge trading. So this usually occurs when traders, they feel frustrated after a loss and then attempt to quickly recover the loss. Okay. And usually it's an aggressive type of trading. So you're usually increasing your risk, you're increasing your frequency, you're just trying to get back what you've just lost. So this behavior is driven by emotion rather than strategy or edge. You're literally just trying to get back something that's been taken from you. And this usually, and it tends to lead to significant losses. Now, there are times where it will work. There will be times where you revenge trade and it works. But this is one of the worst things that can happen, because when you revenge trade and it works, your brain rewards this behavior. You feel a relief. You're like, oh, I was so lucky. Thank God I did that. But I'm not going to do it again, I promise. But what you've just done is, and I'll explain it a bit later in the presentation, is you've released dopamine in that moment, and you've rewarded the wrong behavior. So this is why this revenge trading can become so addictive, because sometimes it works. Now, next we have the tendency to close the trades too early. So it is critical. It's important to take profits, yes, but if you do so prematurely, you're preventing capitalization of the full move. You're stopping your edge from playing out, and this is a big. I think this is one of the most common problems. And look, there's a delicate balance between understanding when to hold, when to close, when to take partials. It's every strategy is a bit different, and every trader has a different personality. But I have to say that the longer you hold trades usually means more profit. So the traders that are able to hold their trades longer tend to be the most profitable. Okay, but you got to know your data. You got to make that decision based on your data. Okay, and the next we have jumping in before confirmation. This is very, this is an error that frequently occurs. So this impulsive act of entering a trade without the proper signal, it leads to wasted and unnecessary risk. Um, and so, you know, when we're trying to jump in early, you're 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 basing that decision on an emotion, because if the trade hasn't got confirmation, if you don't have the signal, then what are you doing? Um, so it's very important that you understand your rules, and if you can have your checklist of entries or a flow chart of your strategy whilst you're trading, this is going to be very important. All right. So that's why it's important to back test. It's important to forward test. It's important to know your edge inside out and have lots of examples of it. And lastly, we have over leveraging, which is, as you know, it's a dangerous game. It is very attractive, you know, to over leverage, and you know you're winning, you risk big, you win big, and it feels great. And yes, you can make money. However, all it takes is 2 or 3 trades losses in a row, and bang, you wipe all that hard work out, and you blow your funded account. Or worse, you do it on your personal capital, and you end up blowing that out. So it's just not worth it. It's not worth over leveraging, because long term it doesn't work. I've never met a successful trader who has been able to um, successfully r- trade for years and or even months. Usually they have this great performance for 2 3 weeks, and then bang, blow everything up in 2 days. It's just not worth it. It's very it's not worth trading like that. Um, and it just causes of really bad habits. Now, as we explore these impulsive mistakes a bit more, it's very important to understand why they're happening. What contributes to these behaviors? So, in the next segment, we're going to talk about the neuroscience of what's happening in your brain when this is happening. Okay, so when these impulsive behaviors come along. By the way, guys, we'll be doing a giveaway today. Okay, so we're going to be giving away 3 10K accounts. So I am going to let you know uh, at the end how to win those accounts. So make sure you're paying attention and make sure you stay until the end. All right. We have approximately, I would say, yeah, we've probably got another 30 minutes or so. So you won't need to wait that long, but you guys got to do something for me first. All right. So make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. Make sure you're liking this video. Okay, so let's talk about the neuroscience trap. Yeah, let's talk about the intersection and the relationship between neuroscience and decision making. And this subject has always fascinated me because it's very important to understand how our brain works and how our brain itself can actually cause us to break our rules. It's just we like the brain is amazing, but you have to teach it or condition it. You have to rewire it, reprogram the script. Otherwise, yeah, you're gonna make mistakes because your brain is designed to survive. It's not. It doesn't like risk. It doesn't like discomfort. You know, it wants you to be safe. Um, and it gets very emotional, so you stay away from things that could potentially be risky. So let's consider the amygdala, the part of your brain that's responsible for processing emotions. Yeah. Now, this part of your brain is it reacts 5 times faster than your logical reasoning. Uh, and during when it's activated, is usually when you experience this fight or flight or freeze response. This is when emotion is very, very high. So for a revenge trader, you usually feel a bit frustrated, a bit angry. Yeah. And you're now fighting the market. You're now in this fight mode. And so when the pressure is high, then your amygdala even gets a little bit bigger, right? That's how, you get a bit more blood flow, synaptic activity there. And this is a problem because you're not thinking logically anymore. You're being very instinctual. And you're operating now from emotion, and you're operating from system one. There's two systems in the brain. System one is fast thinking, automatic thinking, and system two is slow thinking, more logical, more strategic. Um, but you're going straight to system one. Um, Now, the best level of performance is when you have system one and system two aligned. And this is when both are aligned, you're in this flow state. It's a beautiful state to be in. You're taking your time to make decisions, but when it's time to make a decision, you make a quick decision, and you're able to follow your process. Just it feels effortless. It feels really good, and sometimes we do tap into that, but we want to tap into that more. However, when you are just operating from your system one, then you're just making very quick decisions. You're not really thinking. Um, and when this happens, then yeah, it's really bad because dopamine also plays a pivotal role in your decision making, and rewards, like your when we're experiencing system one thinking, which is very quick, very fast. The brain likes that. It starts to release dopamine. So your brain is rewarding you for taking quick thoughts and quick actions. But this might not necessarily be good. Okay, because now your brain is learning the wrong behaviors. And that's why we find ourselves making very impulsive choices. Our brains are wired to seek immediate gratification. That's why social media, it's why ordering food online, Amazon, it's very addictive because you get rewarded so quickly. Online shopping is so easy, right? Because you're rewarded very quickly. So, and if you notice how we can be so addictive to our phones, especially when you get a message and then you get another message and another message and you get notification and another notification, or you're scrolling and you got one reel, then another reel, then another reel. It's you this type of um, stimulus is very addictive. The brain loves it, instant gratification. Um, but it's misleading. It's not. It's something that we need to control better because it often leads to impulsive behaviors in your trading. And lastly, I want to talk about how FOMO can hijack your logical thinking because it's a very powerful emotion. So you end up um, pushing rash decisions driven by anxiety and this desire to not miss the move, to be in the move just like other people. Yeah, so FOMO is actually rooted in our um, innate, in our, how can I put this? So humans, we're social beings, and our inner nature to be social is important for our survival. So FOMO it comes from that. It comes from our that feeling, that urge to want to be in a group, because when you're in a group, you're more likely to survive. You're more likely to be protected. You're more likely to be healthy. You're more likely to find a partner. Yeah. And you're more likely to succeed. So FOMO is that it's just your body and your brain trying to survive, trying to be part of the move. Yeah. And when you see success on social media, you're going to feel this FOMO. It's almost like, hey, that should be me. I should be making that money. Hey, if I need to make trading work as soon as possible, because then I can live like that. I can have that lifestyle. Uh, and so you're comparing yourself. You're trying to be part of this tribe. You're trying to be the 1% of traders. And when you see a move happening in front of you that looks like a potential move, but it's not, you're not waiting for confirmation. Bang, you're you're forcing trades. You're breaking your rules because of FOMO, because you're just trying to, your brain is trying to survive. Does that make sense, guys? Yeah, that's good. I'm glad you guys are paying attention. So let's move forward. Let's talk about some practical techniques that are going to disrupt this automatic patterns of thought. Okay, because these are patterns, guys. Yeah, these are patterns that are scripted in our brains. All right. Now these pattern interrupters is a NLP technique. Okay. NLP stands for neuro linguistic programming, and this technique can be an absolute game changer for some of you. All right. Um, because it helps us navigate our thought process, especially when we're feeling stuck, when we're feeling the pressure. So the main idea here is to create a conscious break in our habitual thought patterns. You want to create this space, because by doing so, you open up the opportunity to be in control. All right, you have a new perspective. So let's discuss the physical action of actually moving away. This is very simple, but I know it's difficult. But look, simply by um, the a very simple technique to interrupt, to disrupt the flow of thoughts that could be repeating, they're just bouncing in our mind, is a physical reset. So literally removing yourself from your charts, from your trading station, because this gives your brain a moment to pause and breathe and think before you act. Yeah, this is very important, because then it's important to say it's important to say pause, pattern, plan, PPP. Remind yourself PPP, or write it down in front of you. Pause, pattern, plan. Because by introducing this verbal cue, it's a reminder. Yeah, so the more you practice it, the more you remind yourself. PPP, pause, pattern, plan. Because then you have the opportunity to pause, you have the opportunity to spot the pattern, and then you're able to plan your way out of it. So if you're experiencing FOMO, you can start planning your way out. So this type of phrase acts as a bookmark, a mental bookmark. Okay. And it basically allows you to remind you just to assess the situation before you actually make a decision. So it's really about taking control of your mental narrative. And finally, setting some sort of visual or audible anchors. This can also be an effective pattern interrupter. So these anchors, they can range from a specific image or a sound. So for example, you can have a flow chart. Uh, that's a verbal cue, that's a visual cue, sorry, of, oh, this is my strategy. This is what I'm meant to do right now. Another one is you could set an alarm, set a trigger, an alert on your chart. So when that triggers, when that hits, you know where price is already. You know the decisions you need to make next. Yeah. So rather than stare at the charts, you just have these alerts in place. So which one of these are you guys going to try next? Are you going to try the physically moving away? Are you going to verbally say PPP, or are you going to have an image in front of you, some sort of a visual cue? Which one of these three do you guys prefer? Okay, some of you are saying alerts. Some of you are saying the verbal PPP. Some of you is literally just physically removing yourself. That's good. That's 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 my favorite one. To physically remove yourself. Go to another room, go for a walk, 10-15 minute walk. Don't take your phone with you. Go for a walk and you just walk, walk, walk. That really helps to relieve the pressure. Allows your brain to have a break. So my personal favorite is physically removing yourself and walking away. And that gives you the opportunity to breathe. Because usually when we're trading, especially when we're feeling emotions, we tend to have very shallow breaths. Sometimes we don't even breathe. We hold our breath for like 10 seconds. This is really bad, guys. If you do that, you're gonna trigger tilt, man. Your body's gonna freak out if you stop breathing. But when we're stressed, when we're so focused and stressed, we forget to breathe. So understanding the conflict between beliefs and our behavior is crucial for personal growth, emotional growth, and emotional well-being. Okay, because this the disconnection of behaviors and beliefs, when that happens, it leads you into this trap, into a cycle of feeling guilty, feeling shame, and this is very damaging for you. Yeah, you know, how often when you guys make a mistake, do you guys get feelings of feeling guilty? Do you feel guilty? Do you feel ashamed of yourself? Or do you start telling yourself off? Now, the first point, that conflict between belief and discipline and actual behavior, it highlights that there's this frequency of this conflict between what we believe about discipline and how we actually act. So for many traders, there's this misalignment. It triggers a sense of guilt, and it just spirals into self-sabotage. Because when we believe we should act in a certain way, but we don't, it creates this internal conflict, this internal friction. It's like you end up not trusting yourself. And this is horrible place. You should be able to trust yourself. But imagine you can't even trust yourself because you do not even respect yourself. You say you're going to, you don't respect your rules, you don't respect your routine. And so every single time you disrespect your rules and your routine, when you don't follow it, it causes this feeling of disappointment in yourself, distrust, this lack of confidence in yourself. And this is a big problem in performance. You can't, you, it's like an athlete, man. You can't expect an athlete to win the competition if he's feeling really bad about himself, if he's feeling ashamed and guilty. Yeah. When you look at the best athletes out there, they are so confident about themselves. You know, they've already won in their mind. They're like, I've won. I've already won. You know, I'm just turning up, but I've already won. I'm here to win. They have that type of mindset. Yeah. And the champions, the absolute champions, are the ones that when they make a mistake or they lose a point or it becomes really challenging, they recover very quickly. Yeah. Because they don't stay there. They don't stay with those feelings of guilt for too long. This is something that's very important. So, because if we don't control this, then this feelings of shame and guilt, it leads to self-sabotage. Okay, that's a problem. And CBT, or cognitive behavioral therapy, offers a path to reframe these negative experiences. So by changing the way we perceive rule breaking, it it basically shifts the mind from this negative mindset about the mistake to a more constructive one. So you always have to think like this. You always have to think, how can I turn this negative thought? How can I learn from it? How can I switch it? How can I reframe it? Because when you start doing that, it reduces the guilt. Yeah. When you start reframing, it's not just about changing your thoughts, it's also about transforming how we respond, how we act, our behavior, and our decisions. So fix, you want to stop yourself feeling guilty and feeling shamed, because then when you stop that, you also stop the impulsive behavior. Does that make sense, guys? Yeah, definitely. Babusi says being a good loser also helps, and incorporating good habits in our daily lives. Yeah, 100% facts. So when you break a rule or you make a mistake, instead of saying, "Oh, I'm an idiot. Why did I break my rule again?" You can rephrase it as, "Oh, there's a flaw in my system, and I've now been able to identify it. So I've got the opportunity to journal it." Do you see the difference? One is a personal attack on your integrity, on your identity, and you feel guilty. And in the other one, you're turning into something constructive. Could you guys see the difference? So let's consider how this type of reframing, it ties to the concept of impulsive control. The ability to pause and react is so important. The more you do this, you're building this response muscle. Yeah, you're building your system one. Remember, I said earlier, system one is automatic thinking, fast thinking. So the more you practice this reframing, the better you are training your system one, because eventually your system one is very accurate. Your decisions are very good. They're not as emotional, yeah, or emotional at all. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Olivia says, focus on building a good process and not just blame results of a bad one. Exactly. You can't judge yourself by just one trade, right? So Oliveda FX, great comment. So let's move on to the next topic, which essentially how the reframing ties to the concept of impulse control, okay? And this ability to pause. So usually you have 3 seconds to pause before the impulsive behavior becomes a problem. Oh, it looks like the text isn't showing up properly. Apologies. So there's this dynamic relationship between beliefs and our behaviors, okay? And we find ourselves in this conflict where belief in the importance of discipline, it clashes with our actual behaviors. So there's this discrepancy, yeah? There's this disconnect. And this leads to this, the emotion takes its toll because you believe one thing, but your actions say something else. So like I said before, you then feel this, you feel disrespected, you feel ashamed, you feel disappointed, and that's not a good place to be in. Because you end up manifesting guilt and shame, and when you experience this cycle of self-sabotage, it's exhausting. Yeah, and then you end up missing moves because you're so stressed, you're so exhausted, and it makes it very difficult to be able to break free from this loop. So a really good technique through CBT is a method that encourages us to reframe how we perceive our actions. So especially when we stray away from the actual rule itself, because if we shift our perspective, we can transform a thought like, oh, I broke my rule, into something much less punitive. So you say, okay, I broke my rule, but this is just practice. This is something that I'm developing slowly, slowly. I've flagged a weakness in my decision making. So now we're starting to build this self-awareness. Now we're labeling, we're tagging these thoughts, and we're matching it with these impulsive behaviors. And the more you do this through journaling, the more you build this self-awareness muscle. Yeah. And this self-awareness muscle is important because it allows you to always be aware before you respond. And that's all you need, guys. That is literally, I could end the presentation now and that say to you guys, the more self-aware you are, the more likely you're going to stop impulsive behavior. So self-awareness, it is the solution. That's the holy grail in trading. The holy grail in trading is self-awareness. And to build self-awareness, you need to journal. And to be profitable, you need a good strategy. So where these are all the ingredients of successful trading. And we need this for growth. This is what we need for growth. Because the better that you get at this, the better that you get at dealing with and accepting these thoughts and behaviors, acknowledging them, being aware of them, you build resilience and understanding. You become less critical, less frustrated, and okay, I made a mistake. I'm going to journal it. I'm going to reframe it. That's okay. Tomorrow's another day. And then the same thing goes. All right, I made another mistake. I'm going to journal it. That's okay. Tomorrow's another day. the next day, oh, I'm about to make the same mistake, but I'm not going to. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to walk away instead. And then you journal it. And then you do that again. And you put the solution in, oh, again, until it becomes habitual. And how many times do you wish you guys just walked away? You made a mistake, you lost a trade, or you got lucky. How many times, like how successful will you be? How many payouts have you missed out on if you just walked away that day or that week? You just decided, oh, you know what? I'm not ready. I'm not prepared, or I'm compromised. Yep, many times. Exactly. So what I want you guys to do for the giveaway, I'm gonna start it very soon. But basically, I want you guys to head over to Discord and show your best lessons. What have you learned? And an action that you're going to take. So I learned these lessons, 2 or 3 lessons, and I'm going to implement. And these are the actions I'm going to implement. Okay. And then we'll choose 3 winners for a 10K challenge account with ThinkCapital. All right. So that's the competition. I'll mention it again at the end. All right. So make sure you're taking notes. I told you guys, take notes. We're almost done, guys. We're almost done. So hopefully you can see this. Next time I'll make the writing a little bit bigger. My apologies, but I want us to understand the role of SOPs. These are standard operating procedures, and they're very important to create structure, a structured approach to your trading. Because when you have structure and you have steps and you stick to these steps, you avoid impulsive behavior. So one of my jobs as a coach is to help my clients build these SOPs and then hold them accountable to them. And so when you do this, you're creating safety, or you're creating a safe environment in your trading, which is very important to maintain control. And you're controlling risk, you're controlling your impulsive behavior. That's what you need, guys. You start trading, you follow your rules step by step, your flow chart, and then you pause, you walk away, you come back again, you follow the rules, you execute, you're self-aware, journal, you walk away. Yeah. So it's you're just following a structure. And next, let's consider having a pre-trade checklist. Do you guys have this? Do you guys have a pre-trade checklist? Good. Every trader needs one. Okay. You need to have your rules, your SOPs in front of you before you're placing trades, because this is going to reduce the cognitive load in the moment. All right. It makes you more systematic. Okay. Especially if you're very impulsive. If you're very impulsive, you need a trade checklist. Okay. So you have a pre-trade checklist and you have a trading plan checklist. Yeah. There's a difference. Who knows the difference? Let me know in the chat. What's the difference between a pre-trade checklist and a trading plan checklist? Now, having these type of checklists is going to help you control these feelings of being overwhelmed, feeling stressed, and it's just you create this streamlined decision-making process. And that's what you want. Yeah, your best trades have always been the easiest ones, right? The best trades you've ever taken have always been very clear, very simple to manage, and not so stressful. That's how trading is meant to be. So moving on, let's talk about confirming your setup. So verifying every setup, making sure that all of the parameters are aligned. This again is going to enhance your decision-making process. And lastly, it's really, really important to understand your risk to reward. Okay, when you assess the risk to reward, you're making you're now trading. This is what a trader's job is. You're trying to look for, you're trying to minimize risk and you're trying to maximize reward. That's really what it is. And when you're following structure and rules and you're ultimately safeguarding the potential losses, because you will have losses. So having a positive risk to reward, you're just safeguarding against future losses. And so you need a balance of this. You also need to know your session times. You need to be very clear what sessions you should be trading and what sessions you shouldn't be. You need to understand what's high probability and low probability. This needs to be clear. This is why you need to be good at technical analysis. You need to be good at reading price. And you're not always going to be right, but the majority of the time you need to understand price. You need to understand and forecast things accurately. And you've heard me say this before, but you got to detach from the outcome, okay? Having this neediness to win, to make money. When if you have this intention and you really need to make money, you really need trading to work, then you shouldn't be trading, okay? You got to be able to detach from this, because it leads to self-sabotage, okay? This pressure to make money, you shouldn't have that in trading, okay? It might work with other businesses, it might work with entrepreneurship, but in trading, it doesn't work, okay? It's not the mindset you need. So you need to shift this mindset to, oh, I need to win. I need to pass this account today, to I need to follow my rules today. I need to make sure I'm ticking off my checklist. I need to make sure that I'm ticking off all of my trading plan checklist. That's the type of thinking that you need to have. And you also need to be able to do this mentally. You need to mentally rehearse your best trades, your best decisions. You need to visualize your when you're tempted to break your rules, and then you need to visualize doing the correct behavior. You need to visualize losses and visualize yourself not reacting to the loss. Visualize yourself walking away. Visualize yourself verbal cues. Remember, some of you are going to say PPP, PPP. Visualize these things. You got to mentally rehearse these things. Because when we start to do this, having these reframing emotional triggers through NLP is so important, because how we recognize our emotions, and it has an impact on our decision making, especially trading. Okay, so we need to adjust our responses to triggers. So we can enhance our performance. Now, the first point is recognizing when greed sets in. Okay, so it's very common type of statement. You know, have you guys ever said this to yourselves? Oh, I'm only one trade away from passing. Oh, I'm only $100 from hitting $1,000 today. Yeah. Who's experienced this thought before? Type a me in the chat. Yeah, D says yeah all the time. So this thought, it leads to self-sabotage. Okay, so we need to be able to control this. So instead, we should be saying that my nervous system is craving reward. I'm seeking a reward. I'm seeking more. I'm seeking a win because my body wants dopamine. My body wants this. My nervous system needs this. So instead, you need to detach from finding rewards in the charts and find it somewhere else. Go for a walk, read your favorite book, do your favorite workout, um, something that you enjoy. Go find it somewhere else. Don't seek enjoyment or gratification on your next trade. Okay. And this is really, really important. And another one is, oh, I messed up. I wanna close this profit now before price returns to my entry, before price hits break even. I really want to close it because I'm in profit right now. So you want to be able to control that instant gratification and just reframe that. And instead of say, I want to close it now, I'm in profit, but I have to follow my rules because my edge plays out after many trades, not just one trade. So it's okay to lose this trade, and I'll accept it. All right. So whenever you hear these thoughts, just know that there's the emotion is anxiety. The decision will be based on anxiety if you act on it. So make sure you act correctly instead. Uh, Now, something that I get my clients to do is to have a dopamine detox because the more you seek activities outside of trading that give you dopamine, the more impulsive you are in your trading. So are you guys really addicted to Netflix, TikTok, short videos? Are you guys addicted to this? Would you say? Would you say that you spend a lot of time on it? This is very common. Even I find myself sometimes doing it, especially when I'm experiencing a lot of stress or I'm very tired. Now, you want to limit your exposure to content that is going to stimulate a lot of dopamine. Yeah, you want to limit yourself, especially when you want to focus in trading. And some of you just need to just give it up. Just delete your social media. You don't need it. You don't need it. And instead, spend more time on your journal. Build self-awareness. Look for patterns in your behaviors. Look for patterns in your emotions. Back test. You know, that's something you want to do. But also, you also want to limit the amount of time you spend on your charts because the more time you spend on your charts, the more likely you're going to make impulsive decisions. So I would say don't spend more than 90 minutes a day on the charts. Okay. Any more than that, you're likely to make mistakes. So if you do 90 minutes, make sure you have a big break in the middle and then do another 90 minutes. But don't go more than 90 minutes. Now, this is an exercise that you can do. It's a systems for rewiring, okay? So it's important to learn how to rewire your impulsive behavior, okay? Because it's going to help you in your personal growth. It's going to help you build better behaviors, healthier patterns. So the first step in rewiring is first you need to identify your most common impulses. Some of you said FOMO, some of you said closing trades early. So you got to take a moment to reflect and what triggers this behavior. When does it occur? What time of the day? Is it when you're tired? Is it when you're hungry? Is it when you're frustrated? What are these triggers? What are the thoughts? Are you trying to, uh, trying to force a trade because you got one more trade to pass the account? What are these thoughts? These are the triggers. Identify them. Um, do you usually break your rules when you're on your phone compared to when you're on the laptop, or vice versa? If you're very impulsive with trading from your phone, then you shouldn't be trading from your phone, right? So once you've identified these triggers, then you want to start to uh, become more self-aware of these when they come up. Okay, just be mindful, look out for them, and just you want to be able to create this constructive alternative. You want to reframe these thoughts. Always think, how can I reframe this thought? How can I reframe this behavior? Always think, reframe, reframe. And when you're doing this, make sure that you set days. So like every weekend, you're going to review your journals, your thoughts, your patterns, your triggers. Do this every weekend. So you're constantly analyzing yourself. Just like athletes, just schedule regular check-ins to reflect on how you're getting on. Yeah, this is why, on your own it's very difficult, but when you're with a coach who's checking on you and you're both reviewing your performance, this is why it's so powerful, so helpful when you work with a coach. And look, consistency is a powerful concept. But something that you need to understand is that consistency comes from behavior and not belief. Okay? You need to have the right belief, but if your daily actions are not aligned, then you're not going to be consistent because your daily actions define who you are. You might have the good intentions, you might have the right beliefs, but it's your daily actions, right? Think about it. How many times have you set goals and good intentions for you just to fail? It's why the New Year's resolution doesn't work. Most people fail. So it's instead of waiting until the New Year's to change, you got to change today and you got to follow it tomorrow and the next day and the next day. You got to repeat the same process every day. It's about repetition. And that repetition, it reinforces the belief, and that's when you get consistent. So let's build real control, okay? Let's build self-awareness. Let's build better brains. Let's build more journaling. Let's build these systems, these flow, these decision-making systems, the structure, these pre-trade checklists, and let's stick to them. All right, because that's the key, guys. So the team is going to be reviewing your 3 biggest lessons and what action you're going to take. And they're going to be choosing a winner on Discord. So keep an eye out for that. So thank you very much, everyone. It's been a fantastic stream today. And I'll be watching your comments, your lessons, and what actions you take. I'll be seeing that on the Discord. So make sure they're good. And in case you missed anything, you can always rewind. But if you found this super valuable, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure that you're just sharing this particular stream with others. Any traders that you know, share it with them because they need to hear this, man. This is so important. You can post it in the psychology channel on the ThinkCapital Discord. Yeah. Excellent. I'm really glad you guys learned something. I've had a great time. Thank you for your contributions, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye for now.